Hello, my name is Renee, and I will be talking about the case of Pedro. We're going to be talking about the treatment plan for Pedro and the recommendations if he does AA and what the case is if he doesn't, and also some cross cultural considerations. Um, so, Pedro, he's a 24-year-old single Mexican American male. He's the oldest and first American generation in his family. He enlisted in the Army. He engaged in combat several times uninjured. So, this one Humvee accident where they ran over a Humvee and it exploded, tipping the Humvee over, caused him head injury, ruptured eardrums, and it permanently impaired his hearing. He was then evaluated and honorably discharged. He felt different once he went home after all the combats. he had trouble sleeping at night, and he had constant flashbacks from combat of war and just everything that he saw. He eventually isolated from his family, thinking that they can't connect and understand each other. He eventually became a manager at a grocery store. He felt overqualified, but that's what he can get. But he had no motivation for work. He was being put down by his manager to his other employees, so that was degrading. He ended up started drinking. He felt a bond with the fellow soldiers that he didn't at his town. He started drinking before work, and then it became he drinking on during work hours. Eventually, he had an accident where he totaled his car, but he was uninjured. He was picked up by the sheriffs and taken to the hospital, where the lawyer recommended he get evaluated. He eventually agreed to get evaluated, and so on the assessments, the MAST, he scored 12. 5 points and above indicates a substance user. 8 plus and above is stronger evidence for chronic substance abuse. He was also diagnosed with alcohol use disorder, 303.9. He was also diagnosed with 799.9 deferred, which is pretty much a clinician saw signs or symptoms of personality disorder, but was not enough evidence at the time to decide. In the Global Assessment of Function, GF, he dropped from mild 70 to 55, which is considered moderate. So that did increase. So with the recommendations that he was given, they wanted PTSD treatment, inpatient alcohol dependence treatment, and Alcoholics Anonymous. So the preferred treatment, Pedro goes inpatient in a different state or at least a different town where nobody knows him because he said he was embarrassed to go in his own community. So he would go to a different state or town for alcohol use, get treatment for PTSD, attend counseling, and AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. The second plan, with kind of no AA, he would go inpatient, get treatment for PTSD, attend counseling, but no AA. So with the first one, Pedro would get treatment and support, and when he gets home, he decides to either stay in contact with the sponsor, enjoys AA either virtually, over the phone, something like that, and then he'll eventually quit his job because he'll see that he has more potential. And then he'll start working at the VA, helping and maybe sponsoring, mentoring other people. And it would just kind of bring a circle of support. And with him helping out in the community, it'll make his confidence go up, make his life skills get better. And that will be more successful in the long run. However, if he does a second option where he goes inpatient, gets treatment for PTSD, and upon discharge, he continues counseling, but still refuses AA, Pedro has a hard time staying sober, and he will probably stay with his job, which makes things worse. One day he'll eventually have a bad day at work, resulting in going back to the bar, relapsing, and then having no sponsor. There's no, calling for a sponsor and seeing how they can resolve this. So he'll eventually just start drinking on the job. His life will get worse. And by the time he talks to the counselor on what's going on, he's going to have to go inpatient again for alcohol abuse. And so with no support, it becomes a toxic circle of just going inpatient, outpatient, inpatient, outpatient. And it's worse for the body that way, and no support, than just getting the help in a different location. So some cross-cultural considerations that I was thinking, being a first-generation Mexican American, it's very hard to be the first and not be able to go to your parents and be like, hey, what did you do when this happened? Or what do you do when this happens? Because they'll tell you, I don't know, never been in that situation. So that's one thing. He might think he can't talk to his parents, or they don't understand him because of the whole disconnection of being raised and, we're from Mexico, so that's how we do it over there. It's not easy for them to communicate or compare their situations. The parents are probably strict, and they might not be able to talk to each other in a kind of a even balance level way. They're probably more superior, so I can't talk to my parents about certain things like that. Mexicans tend to be more proud people, so he might feel like he's a disappointment to his parents, and they sacrifice so much to bring us to America, and then for me to just be a mess up. With him being the first male in a Mexican family, not only the male is supposed to take care of the parents, but the firstborn son, whether female or male, they're supposed to be the role models for the other siblings. So he's supposed to be able to support not only his parents, but also support and raise kind of his children. Not his children, his siblings. So he's, helping the parents with Social Security and things that living in America now. And then he has to help his siblings because the parents are not going to understand what's going on, and the siblings are going to be going to that firstborn. So with any kind of paperwork, because the parents are not going to be able to understand English or read English, so that firstborn kind of is the gap between Mexico and America, where the family kind of goes to him in order to function. So with him not being able to do that because he's on his alcohol and mental illness cycle, he's not there for his family. So that's even harder on him. So those are some things that I just thought. Thank you.